shy of it. It's not going to get you any marks in the exam. And just in case you didn't get it the first time, there are no marks for regurgitating theory in the exam. Okay, so let's be clear on that. Okay, so how are we going to be able to apply in the SBL exam? Let me share with you how we can apply better. And to be honest, I love SBL as a subject because it's around us all of the time. It's around us in everyday life. We just often can't see it. So let me help you see SBL. Yep. So, and in the context of marketing and the 7 Ps, well, it's something that bombards us wherever we are, whatever we're doing. And maybe to help you see this, I just wonder, have you heard of the following product? Hopefully you have. Yeah, Coca-Cola is probably, if the famous or one of the most famous brands in the whole world. Yeah, and in fact, actually have changed how we perceive Father Christmas. Yeah, there was a Coca-Cola advert many years ago where Father Christmas dressed in the colours of Coca-Cola, red and white. And ever since that advert, because it was so powerful, we have always now perceived Father Christmas to be wearing red and white. But before that advert, Father Christmas, or Santa Claus as he's also known, would wear green or sometimes wear brown. And the red and white all comes from the power of marketing of Coca-Cola. So, little side fact there for you. Do you know what the difference between Coca-Cola in a can is and Coca-Cola in a bottle? Is it any different? Yep. Where do we normally get a can and where do we normally get a bottle? Normally get a can probably in a corner shop, in a vending machine, in a multi-pack in a supermarket. We probably get a bottle in a restaurant and maybe a wine bar. Yeah. So what's the difference? Well, there's not really any difference to the Coke, but the Coke in a can might cost you 50 or 60 pence in the UK, whereas a Coca-Cola in a restaurant might cost you £4, even £5. But that Coca-Cola in a restaurant will probably be served with a glass. It will be served with some ice, maybe even a slice of lemon. Yep, it's the same Coca-Cola, but they'll charge you £4 or £5. In fact, it reminds me of a rather painful thing that happened to me this summer. And I was in a kind of fancy part of the south of France, and I went to a restaurant and I bought 3 Coca-Colas. For 3 Coca-Colas, I paid €15 for each one. €15 for a Coke, it was less in that bottle than there is in a can. But hey, the power of marketing, yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. On Coca-Cola, saying a little bit more, have you wondered why that you can get Coke in a bottle, but sometimes you get Coke in a smaller bottle? Or why does Coca-Cola offer Diet Coke? Yep. Why does Coca-Cola offer Coca-Cola in a can, but in a different shape can? And why does it offer Coca-Cola in a can and then a diet can? What's going on? What are the answers to all of this? Well, that's marketing, yeah? And I will reveal those answers, but to do well, not just on marketing questions, but on all of SBL, it's important that we are curious. Yeah, it's important that we visualize things. Yeah, and marketing and the 7 Ps, they're the mechanism that change our perception of things. They're the mechanism that persuade us to buy things. They're the mechanism that maybe, yeah, is happy to pay one price or another price. Yeah, because at the end of the day, Coca-Cola is a brown, fizzy, sugary liquid, which is the same however it is priced, poured or perceived. And it's marketing that does that. So let's have a look at what we basically need to know on the marketing mix. Okay, let's have a quick recap of the marketing mix and how the 7Ps links to it. But please remember that this isn't a teaching video, and if you want to get a depth of knowledge, you need to go to chapter 12 of the ACCA Study Hub, which provides excellent resources. There's quizzes on there, there's flashcards, there's past questions. That is the resource you should be accessing for your SBL knowledge. Please stay away from all the false prophets on Facebook and so on. So review that, and also review technical articles. Very important to review all the technical articles, and you want to make sure you review the particular technical article on the 7Ps, which you can find on the ACCA site. So to give a very quick review of what I'd want you to do in the exam, the marketing mix is originally started with 4 Ps: the product, the price, the promotion, and the place. And these were things that we manipulated of a product. As services became more relevant in society, 3 extra Ps were added, and what we would add to those initial 4 Ps were looking at people, processes, and physical evidence, particularly when we're marketing services. So in an exam, what I would like you to be able to do is do a quick brainstorm of the typical things we would do against product, price, promotion and place, people, processes and physical evidence. And that then can be used as a catalyst to apply in the context of the scenario. They're not all going to be relevant, I'll show you. But here is what you need to know. On a product, what do we mess around with on the product? We mess around with its size, its features, its style. We might mess around with packaging, we might mess around with branding, we might mess around with warranty. Okay? But as I just said, we will not necessarily deal with all of these aspects of the product, and it would depend on the context. For example, we were talking about Coca-Cola. I wouldn't buy a can of Coca-Cola because it comes with a 5-year warranty. But I might buy a car. A Miele washing machine comes with a 10-year warranty, and a lot of people will buy that washing machine because of that. So for exam purposes, it would be good if you understand what we can mess around with on a product, and then use that understanding to use a brainstorm, which we then can use to help plan our answer. So answering questions before, the reason that can came out by Coca-Cola, if you didn't know, was not to appeal to consumers, but to appeal to retailers. By designing the can this way, they could give retailers a higher turnover per square meter of shelf space. So, supermarkets have limited space. If you can generate more turnover per square meter, which this can did, it becomes attractive. So therefore retailers would buy more of that Coca-Cola, and Coca-Cola would sell more of it. That smaller bottle would be popular in cocktail bars, and it just looks a bit more stylish. People would pay more for it. And Diet Coke would appeal to a different market segment in the same way caffeine-free Coke and so on would. So we adjust the features of a product, the size of the product. The branding remains strong, although Diet Coke could be argued to be its own brand. When we look at price, there are elements of price we manipulate to basically encourage people to buy, to change perception and so on. So the basic pricing of cost plus, often an accounting price, not really a great price because it ignores what the customer will pay. I'm sure Coca-Cola costs pennies to make, but will sell for high prices, sometimes particularly in a glass bottle. Yeah, it's nothing to do with the cost. Yeah, an iPhone apparently doesn't cost much, but sells for a high price. Promotional pricing would be maybe to encourage people to buy things at the end of season and stuff like that. Differential pricing would charge a different price for a different market segment. That market segment could be based on age, so it could be, kids' clothes might be cheaper than adults' clothes. It could be based on time, so peak and off-peak. Could be based on gender, although you have to be a bit careful legally there. But a lady's haircut would normally be more than a man's haircut. Competitors, what are they charging? We might need to price accordingly. Life cycle, if it's a new iPhone, so for example, it would be more expensive. When a new telly comes out, it would be more expensive compared to maybe later in the life cycle where you would charge less. And then prestige pricing, we'd sometimes charge more, so people think it's better because it's more expensive. So there's very similar cars. Volkswagen Audi Group own Volkswagen, own Audi, own Bentley, and they own Lamborghini. Similar car components would be priced differently. So an Audi would be more than a Volkswagen, a Bentley would be more than an Audi. Components might not be that different always. Yeah. Rolls-Royce is owned by BMW. Much of what's inside a Rolls-Royce is a BMW, but they will be charged more. So just appreciate that kind of thing. If we think about promotion, we need to think about how it's advertised, where it's advertised. Sales promotion, you might do buy one, get one free on a chocolate bar, but you wouldn't do that on a Rolls Royce. Yeah. Public relations is kind of brainwashing people through magazine articles and associations, quite clever. And then direct selling would be appropriate for more expensive goods, maybe financial services. It wouldn't be a Coca-Cola salesman in the shop. Would you like this Coca-Cola, madam or sir? But there may be personal selling involved with expensive jewellery or expensive clothing or financial services, that kind of thing. So this would sell for 50p, this would sell for a lot more, mainly because of the packaging. Yep. If we think about the place, where do we sell it? Think about the distribution channel chosen. Are you selling it online? Are you selling it in a fancy shop? Would definitely change people's perception. Are we using people to sell it? If it's a service, if it's self-service, or is it personal service? Yeah. So how do those people look? What skills do they have? How professional are they? Again, it depends what we're selling. Yeah. Some people would want things quick, so we might not want personal service. And that would link to processes. So is it automated or is it personalized? How quick do you want it? Yeah, again, this is more linked to the marketing of services and also the capacity. So a human being has less capacity than maybe a vending machine. Yep. So think about that. Think about shopping at Amazon. Think about shopping at Harrods. Very different. Physical evidence would be the style of the shop, would be the people. It could also be things such as tangible evidence, which might be the receipt, might even be the bag, the packaging, that kind of thing. Yeah. So I think a good example of someone who has exploited marketing as well as Coca-Cola are these people who took what effectively was a humble bit of electronics that you would previously buy in an electronics store, and they started to market it like, you know, luxury cars, fine watches, and they would sell what was traditionally in some, you know, fairly boring electric shop. Suddenly there's the Apple store. It's a lifestyle, it's an experience, it's an event, it's a theatre. Yeah, and it's selling a phone, or it's selling a computer, or it's selling a mouse mat or something like that. You know, they've made it sexy. Yeah, they've made it sexy by manipulating the product. The packaging, Apple is sleek aluminium. The price is high, so it must be good because it's expensive. Promotion, tend to not put them on sale, yeah, because that could devalue the brand. They tend to be, you know, have good PR about how great they are. And the place, well, you normally can only buy them through official resellers, or in most places at the Apple store, who can control the whole customer experience. And when we go into the Apple store, there's some physical evidence, there's some design features. They all look like that, with the beach benches, the people in Apple t-shirts who are very knowledgeable, are you know, very professional. Yeah, what a great business Apple is, and we can learn from that. So that is a very, very brief recap. Please look at the study hub, please look at the article, and let's now talk about how we can use such things in an exam situation. Okay, now let's have a look at the types of questions you can expect to get in the area of the marketing mix and 7Ps. First of all, you are not going to get any questions like this. Clearly define what is meant by the 7Ps of the marketing mix. As I say, this will never come up, and you know why it won't come up, because it's an applied exam and it's not a technical one. So you're not going to be asked for any technical definitions. And if you were to give technical definitions in your exam, this is not going to get any marks, and it's also going to cost you time. So please stay away from technical definitions. More likely question that you're going to get is going to be along the lines of prepare a report, because that's what you'd have to do in the workplace. Who is it for? It's for the CEO, on how elements of the marketing mix can be applied to deliver sustainable competitive advantage and strengthen the company's competitive position. Yep. This would also be linked with professional skills marks, which might be for commercial acumen. So how would I approach a question if I got something like that in the exam? Well, the approach I would suggest that you take, first of all, we need to carefully read the requirements, because often in the panic of the exam we can see a requirement we want to see rather than one that's actually given. Having carefully read, we can undertake the process of planning. I'd say it's really important to plan your SBL answer, because there's only 3 tasks in the exam. If you get it wrong, it's going to be quite difficult to pass. So what would I do in my plan? Well, the first thing I'd do is I'd start with a brainstorm. Having done a brainstorm, I'd then think about how many marks I need to get. So I'd go back through my brainstorm, picking on where potential marks could be achieved. And then professional skills requirement as a lens through which I craft my answer. So it was commercial acumen here, and when I'm putting my points across, I need to make sure that my points have an acknowledgement of the commercial benefit or commercial drawback of doing potential things. And if you do that, you should do really well. So let's just kind of go back to the question. Say the question was on maybe an airline, for argument's sake. There was a recent question on an airline, and we would do a brainstorm. So it's about the marketing mix. What I would do, and I'd do my brainstorm on the word area, and I would title it up plan, because if you do it in the scratch pad won't get handed in. And maybe if you were a borderline case, the examining team would have a look at your paper, and if it was evidenced from your plan that you were a very good student, you might just get that extra mark. But don't rely on a plan to be marked, but that's when it would be useful. So anyway, let's brainstorm. If we were doing a brainstorm and we were thinking about the product, what am I going to brainstorm? Well, I'm going to brainstorm size, features, style, packaging, branding, warranty. And so just do that really quickly without thinking. And now I consider, in the context of an airline, would size be relevant? I think it would. You would use different sizes of aircraft to maybe service different routes where there might be different demands. So obviously if it was a long haul flight from maybe Europe to Australia, you would have a big plane. You would probably only have one of those a day. But maybe if it was a popular features, it would depend on what people would want, but it would. Branding, would it be relevant? Yes, it might be. Maybe we've got a threat from a low-cost airline, so maybe we could use a secondary brand to compete as a low-cost player and have our premium brand to operate what we currently do well, because the brands are separate. So that's just an example. And what I would do through each of this brainstorm include like onboard Wi-Fi or the whole thing. So if I was thinking about pricing, I might think about Christmas, what competitors charging, I'm not sure P's accordingly, and just thinking where maybe marks could be achieved. Yeah. And money, then maybe that's not a good idea. If we were selling lens. So always be thinking like that, and always be keeping it in the context of the scenario. Yeah, keep it in context. So if it was an airline, it's always got to be, so packaging wasn't relevant and I wouldn't talk about it. But I did it in a brainstorm just to create a catalyst and a list which I could go through and check off. Yep. So also, when you're struggling a little bit, try to consider, so if it was an airline, maybe depending on where you live, you could relate to maybe Emirates, or you could relate to British Airways, or you could relate to American Airlines. Yep, keep it in context. Yeah, try and visualize in real life, and also think about you. What would you do in this situation? Don't behave as they're supposed to on a SBL exam, which is you are supposed to behave as a strategic business leader in the context of the workplace. It's a practical, applied exam. That's what your examining team says. But people often are afraid to state the obvious. So please don't. Yep. Also, when developing a point, you can help yourself by thinking, well, so what? So, as I explained about maybe having a secondary brand, so what? Why would you do that? Well, that would help fend off competition from other low cost carriers, which are eroding some of our market share. So, if we use our superior buying power as a large airline to get economies of scale on plane purchasing and use our knowledge and all the rest of it, that would help sustain our competitive advantage. Why would we move into this particular area? Because that is a growth economy where if we establish, we are able to generate large revenues. And so what? Why? What's the consequence of what I've just said? They're very useful things to be thinking of. But when developing your points in SBL, be aware that it's very unlikely you're going to get any more than a maximum of 2 marks for a well-developed point. And you would have to have two separate things really to get those 2 marks. So don't just assume it's 2 marks a point. It isn't. But if you develop a point and then you take that point.
So, Ogeshi, any feedback from what you have gained from the video so far?
Yes.
So, in summary, how has video impacted you?
Okay, well, yeah, first, I think it tried to explain how you can approach questions during exam. That you're not going to be asked to define something, that you are supposed to apply every knowledge you have to the scenario. So it's not a technical question, just an applied question, as in how you're going to apply it in the scenario. And he also gave us the marketing mix, the 7 Ps, and the details. Like when you're answering them in exam, you're not going to say define the marketing, maybe define the product, the price, and all that. But as you single them out, you're going to be applying them in respect to the scenario that you are given. When you have a scenario and a product is involved, that you have to look at the size, the features, the style, and see how you can apply them in the question that you are given, and not necessarily that you're going to be asked to begin to define those things, just the applications that you're going to be looking out for, how you are going to apply them to the scenario that was given to you. You should visualize it, as in visualize the scenario, as in ask yourself, what in a real life, what is this? What can I do if this kind of circumstance comes? And then if you are in your office, how are you going to apply them? You should develop your points, try and brainstorm before you start answering the question. You plan your questions.
Okay, I think that is fair. Yanolua, what can you gain?
Yeah, I think Ogechi has explained everything. The man was speaking on how we can approach SBL questions. He spoke about the marketing mix and 7 Ps. He said we should brainstorm when we are giving this question. We should brainstorm and then ask why we should ask why about the situation based on the question. So yeah, I think she has already summarized everything he spoke about.
Okay. So the reason why I love that video is because most students in the exam, there are some silent points that they don't pay attention to. And uh, those silent points are something that you cannot do without in the exam. And ACCA will not bring just one topic. Topics are often embedded in such a way that if you fail to understand the tools, the relevant tools you are required to use, you may not get the fact correct. So that's why today, and maybe going forward, what I'll be doing is our class will be 1 week on 1 week off so that we will have time to read the articles, solve the assignments after after today's class now. Next week will be for you to read up and solve your assignment before we come back upper week. The only effect that we have is that we will have less time for revision. But I think when you understand most of what is in the syllabus, revision may not be a thing that we troubleshoot you. Do you guys prefer that approach? Please, let's talk now.
Pardon?
I don't know if Ogechi is writing December diet, if that would be preferable for her. But for me,
what about you?
I don't, I don't think I don't think I'll write, except maybe something, miracle happens.
so I don't
So,
know.
how can I help
I'm
you to
trying
write
as much as
December?
possible to read. If the circumstance gave me time, I will write. It's
So, is
It
there anything I can
doesn't.
do to help you?
My major problem is time, because I work in a place where you do all kind of constant review, regulations, all that. So I am always busy. Workshop, trainings. So that's my major problem.
So, I ask, how can I help you to write in December? Is there anything I can do on my part?
I think you are doing the much you can, sir, because another thing is, I don't know what to say again. Office and then even home front. So it's
Yeah,
not something that
personal
home
for
front
me.
too. Both of them are challenging. So I'm putting in my best. Every little time I have in the office, I go through my videos and all that. So, but what I know is
Okay.
when I get to October,
Yanoluwa,
I will know what I will write. Yes.
Yanoluwa, what about you? What can I do to make you write December?
Um, I honestly wish I could, but I have so much personal commitments, and then trying to recover from a long-term sickness, and so it's overwhelming. So that's why I'm giving myself time.
Okay, okay, I think I like that honest. But so that means we are keeping you guys in view of writing December. But the approach I recommended that we do, like after this week lecture, next week, for you to like have time to read up, solve your assignment before we come upper week. Would that be fair enough?
Yes, sir.
Yes, that will be fine.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't know if you've shared it
Okay.
before. Have you shared the syllabus with us? Or
I've done that, yes.
okay.
Ogechi, please help me share it with her, please.
Okay,
Help me
is it
share all the previous materials that I've shared
okay.
on the group. Share it with her
Group,
personally.
okay. All right.
Okay, so from that topic, Dr. Adiza is here finally. Dr. Adiza, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Okay. So we asked them about there is a particular video we watch on pricing. So maybe by the time you watch the video, you can by the time you watch the recording, you can catch up. So I choose that video based on the questions that were asked. And though we have done it in the class, but the way students answered the exam showed lack of deep understanding. So I penned that down for you, for your team to watch this morning before I dive into my tutor-led slide. Then the next one we will commit to review now is uh, how that six piece is often embedded with strategic questions. So you can hear the examiner saying that ACCA will not ask you to regurgitate your textbook knowledge, but to mix. So as a kind of reminder, that seven piece, how can it be mixed with other questions for a position and analysis? And that will now take us to the second video for the day. So after that, I will run through my slides. Then I've shared a question during the week, a case study and a question. So I'll give you 1 hour to read the case study. Then another 1 hour to attempt to solve the question. If you can conclude it today, fine, I'll provide the answers and give you assignments. But if we can't, that means you guys will take it and solve it during the week, read it over the weekend. Then by the time we are back, I should have gotten your answers. So let's go through the second that talks to how you can embed the solutions when you have a 5 piece and how it can be mixed up with other questions. Because in this September diet, that's what most of the students are missing. And it boils down to tuition houses who have been blamed. But most of them, they give their feedback on this platform. So we're being blamed on although they were being blamed. Me, I won't be blamed because most of my students, they vote fairly. But you know, it's a global performance. So let me share my screen for the second stuff so that we can please take a proper learning, please. Document, take a proper learning. So,
the syllabus areas and
solving
learning the
answers.
objectives that are set for these position of an organization in different contexts. I'll not be dealing
Please,
with
can you hear the audio?
detailed insights of these models.
Yes, sir.
Will
But it's not
certainly
loud.
sensitize you
Okay, thank you.
on how to
Okay,
apply
please
these
take
models in the
your
scenario
learnings.
given in the examination to get technical as well as professional skills marks. Remember, the examiner will not be asking you to make use of any particular model. But based on the information given and also based on the requirement, it will be useful for you to refer the structure of a certain model to properly and structure your answer in a manner that befits the requirements. Now, one thing you should note that since SBL was introduced in 2018, one major change did happen with effect from September 2023 as ACCA introduced the introduction of pre-seen. So one can make use of the models to understand and analyze pre-seen
I'm trying to reconnect it.
Okay, I was wondering.
I was troubleshooting college for the volume that Yanolua requested for.
I think the volume is even okay now, before it stopped. The volume was okay before it paused.
Can you imagine? She said she could not read very soon. I was thinking of assisting her to move it properly.
Thank you, sir.
Please confirm that you can hear.
Yes,
Hello,
it's
welcome
loud.
to this video. I'm Milind Date, expert tutor for SBL examination. In this topic explainer video, I would unlock for you exam-oriented techniques to be applied when answering the tasks related to analyzing the strategic position of an organization in different contexts. I'll not be dealing with detailed insights of these models, but will certainly sensitize you on how to apply these models in the scenario given in the examination to get technical as well as professional skills marks. Remember, the examiner will not be asking you to make use of any particular model, but based on the information given and also based on the requirement, it will be useful for you to refer the structure of a certain model to properly and structure your answer in a manner that befits the requirements. Now, one thing you should know that since SBL was introduced in 2018, one major change did happen with effect from September 2023 as ACCA introduced the introduction of pre-seen. So one can make use of the models to understand and analyze pre-seen information and also while answering some parts of the requirements. So watch this video and get yourself conversant with application of models like PESTEL, SWOT, Porter's 5 forces, and Porter's diamond. This video will unwind for you the syllabus areas and learning objectives that are set for these 4 models. I'll also let you know how to use these models and when to use these models and how to avoid common pitfalls when answering the questions. And I'll do this with the help of some past exam questions on each of these modules and examiner comments as are where they are relevant. Before I begin, just one point. You must understand how the model should be applied. You don't get marks just for stating and elaborating theoretical elements of these models, but a marker will always look for how you support your answer, structure your answer using the parameters from these models. And certainly by making use of evidences from the given exhibits. I'll demonstrate this with the help of some past exam questions as well as questions from ACCA Study Hub wherever relevant. Let's look first at the syllabus area and the learning objectives, because this will be very much essential for you to understand how the concept is likely to be tested. So for PESTEL, the learning objective says assess macroeconomic environment of an organization using appropriate models. And remember, the examiner has used the word such as. That denotes that you may not use only the PESTEL model to analyze macro environment. You could make use of other models as well. But suggestive use of PESTEL is recommended. Intellectual level knowledge 3, which will definitely help you to understand that examiner will test your ability to synthesize and evaluate the information. Again, for Porter's diamond, the learning objective says apply the diamond model to explore the influence of national competitiveness on the strategic position of the organization. So although you can make use of other models such as maybe PESTEL or SWOT, this particular model will help you in devising your application methodology to explore how a particular nation's geopolitical, social, cultural environment could create an impact on the strategic position of an organization. Next is making use of SWOT analysis. Now, this is a typical way of handling external as well as internal parameters. Strengths and weaknesses would refer to assessing internal resources, capabilities, and competencies, whereas opportunities and strength are linked to the external environment as such. And the fourth, Porter's 5 forces, will help you to evaluate the sources of competition. Where is the competition coming from in an industry or a sector with the help of the 5 forces that Porter has defined. You will understand one thing very clearly, that all 4 models are related to technical syllabus area of strategy. And these models, all these models, will generally help us in assessing or evaluating current strategic position of the organization. And that could be done vis-a-vis environment, vis-a-vis competition, vis-a-vis related competencies, as well as the national advantage. So for different contexts, you will have different models that can be applied. And this assessment or evaluation may be expected to be performed in relation to a scenario which is related to maybe a domestic organization or a company within international setting, as may be given to you in this scenario. A careful reading of requirement, no doubt, is required to identify first which model is most suited to meet that requirement. And then you could start gathering information from the exhibits, as well as you can make references to the pre-seen information wherever required to be able to effectively make use of the models to address the requirement. Remember, examining team has been time and again advising a student is not expected to state which model they are using. But you need to bring out the essence of that model in structuring your answer so that you meet the requirement really very well. So let's see how we can make use of these models in an exam scenario as such. Now, how the models would help in SBL examinations? One, you will be able to understand and analyze effect of changes in elements of macro environment. Now, macro environment could consist of a number of parameters on which information will be available to you in the case scenario. The models should also be used in a broader context. The focus of examining team is more on how the students use the models rather than anything else. So a question that directly signals a use of a particular model may be very, very rarely asked. Once you have kept in mind that you need to analyze the impact of the changes in the environment onto the organization, in what way do you see the impact happening? It could create a positive or negative impact, definitely, on resources and competencies, existing resources, existing competencies, financial aspects such as profitability, returns, growth, revenue, cash flows, etc. And the company's existing market, the rate at which it's growing, company's market share, and therefore the company's competitive position. So you should be prepared to assess the impact of changes in the macro environment on these elements. Of course, based on the information that is given to you in the scenario, either pre-seen or the exhibits. And then understand whenever the effect is to be commented upon or evaluated, whether it's creating a positive impact, opportunities could be available, a negative impact, which could act as threats or risks for the organization, or the company may not be facing any major challenge due to those changes. It may not apply to the existing organization at all. This analysis using these models will help to get prepared for a strategic choice or alternative choices of action for the organization. And for you students to ensure a pass, please help yourself by identifying the most suitable framework or model that you could apply to a given scenario. And this depends on two things. Number one, look at what the requirement states. And therefore, reading the requirement is very, very critical part of your answers. And second, of course, is what kind of information that's available to you in the pre-seen or in the exhibits. Now, although the tasks may not directly relate to the pre-seen information, but one could make use of the analytics from these four models to structure your responses to the task. Let's look at these models and how are they tested. And I'll illustrate this to you with the help of some past exam questions. Coming first to PESTEL and SWOT, which help you to understand environmental issues. Now, when you start preparing yourself, or even you're getting ready to get your practice questions done, make sure that first you learn these two concepts from chapter numbers 9 and 11, respectively for PESTEL and SWOT, to understand elements of the possible external as well as internal factors. Look from the pre-seen information and also the exam exhibits available, how the external and internal factors are affecting the organization. Do they necessitate change in the strategy in future? Is the impact positive or negative? Now, when you want to make use of any of these models, or you could use maybe a combination of these two, first try and understand whether the context given is domestic or international. Because if the setting is international, you will have to do a lot of to bring in a lot of comprehensiveness in your analysis, because the horizon will be larger in this case. One more thing which you should look at is whether the company is already an existing player in the market or is contemplating to enter that market, because that's what will help you to know how you should structure your answer. Please remember, in all the four cases, four models that I referred, questions and therefore the answers could be judgmental. And therefore, the answers will necessarily have to be backed up by sensible arguments that are supported by the data given in the case scenario. That's very, very crucial for you to understand. So for PESTEL and SWOT, let's look at some of the past exam questions. Of course, PESTEL factors are related to external environment, which you know very well, and SWOT is a combination of external and internal elements. This is a question taken from September-December 2020 examination, where you're required to prepare a report for a CFO evaluating the extent to which external environment could impact the company's strategic objectives. This is how theory and practice are a little different. For 15 marks, this question is there, in addition to, of course, professional skills marks. Remember, you don't just have to evaluate the external environment generally for the company, but you should always try and make a specific reference to the three strategic objectives which are given to you as a part of exhibit in the next 5 years. And therefore, the external environment will impact these strategic objectives, will have to be assessed by you and then quantify or elaborate based on the information that is available. Now, can you make use of PESTEL? Can you make use of SWOT? Well, a quick understanding would tell you there's a clear reference to external environment. And therefore, PESTEL would be much more comprehensive than early opportunities and threats in the SWOT. So you are expected here to use the relevant exhibit information and identify and evaluate each of the PESTEL factors and link that impact to each of the three strategic objectives. Then only your answer will be comprehensive and correct. 3 objectives, 15 marks. So I would say roughly 5 marks per strategic objective and associated impact of each of the PESTEL factors. Remember always one thing, you have to analyze only based on or evaluate only based on information that's available. Maybe all 6 PESTEL factors may not be relevant in a particular case scenario. Pick up information only that's available to you. Don't make any assumptions there. So if, let us say, there's no legal factor related information available in this scenario, you don't have to include a legal element as a part of your evaluation. Please remember this very well. Otherwise, your answer will partially become specific and partially generic, and you would lose marks for writing unnecessarily the generic part of the answer. So identify elements from external environment and their potential impact on the 3 strategies. When you say potential impact, don't forget to comment with evidence, of course, on whether that impact is likely to be low or high, or positive or negative, And for the time frame, that's also important in this particular scenario. The time frame given is 5 years. So if something is expected to happen after, let's say, 10 years, 15 years, when the technology, for example, may change, that won't be part of your answer in this case. So requirement is very clear. Reference to external environment is already there. Time span of 5 years is a key word, and linkage of pestle factors to assess the impact on 3 strategic objectives is very, very clear. When you do all this, you not only get the technical skills marks, but you also will get the professional skills marks. Let's see what examiners have commented on students' performance in general. Students have failed to focus, weaker candidates, of course, key weaknesses I'm talking about, focus on external factors specifically. You can't make a mention of internal weaknesses in this particular case, like staff turnover or any other thing. No, that's not going to. That's not going to help you. You talked about, let's say, political unrest in some countries where the operations will happen. Now, this is not. This may not be incorrect, but fail to make direct use of the information. So make it a point. No reference at all made to the impact of external environment on strategic objectives. So you're not answering part of the question at all. And then incomplete answers that covered only limited range of external factors. So you may talk only about political and social issues, but you may have ignored the other issues. This clearly spells out the fact that we don't give enough importance to understanding of the requirement, number one, and link that requirement to the information available in one or more exhibits, as well as the pre-seen information. Let's look at another question. This is March or June 2023. Now here, the board of the company is likely to evaluate the proposal to move into computer games industry. Now, you are definitely required to present your answer in slides format, presentation format, with accompanying notes, of course. Now, two things to be discussed over there: opportunities which could arise from use of big data for computer games, where the company to operate within the industry, and the threats arising from collection of big data itself, which the company would get as a part of its move to the computer games industry. Remember, the first sentence itself is very crucial. Company is evaluating its move into computer games industry. That means company is not currently operating in the computer games industry. Opportunities as well as threats, both are external factors. So you could make use of SWOT, of course. I mean, opportunities and threat, part of that SWOT model, but you could bring in parts of PESTEL wherever you feel necessary, and give an answer that directly meets the requirement. 12 marks, so possibly 6 marks, one part for opportunities and the other part for threat. Opportunities could be arising out of positive PESTEL factors. Threats could be arising out of negative factors. So some students could also think in terms of making use of the competitive positional analysis. Like, for example, one could talk about barriers to entry in the computer games industry. Well, that could be a threat. So it's not compulsory for you to make use and refer to one framework, one model, but it could be a combination that if you are able to put in the most relevant manner will help you get marks easy. Let's see what are the examiner comments on this. The examiner says better candidates earn marks to develop points which explain how an opportunity or a threat directly benefited or directly impacted NT. And this is what is certainly required. Better candidates. But sometimes the examiner says some of the statements made by the candidates were not clear. For example, a comment like we will have a lot of information about games. Now, there was no development to explain how or why this manifested itself into an opportunity. Now, getting a lot of information about gamers is, yes, of course, it's a part of big data, but is it an opportunity only? Is it a threat? And if yes, why it's a threat? If you don't elaborate with evidence, the answer will not score marks. Number of candidates provided detailed explanation of big data itself and the 3 V's. Now that was not relevant at all over here. And rightly the examiner says they get no marks. So don't waste time generating irrelevant content which earn no marks for yourself. Don't fail to develop points to explain how an opportunity or how a threat benefits or impacts a company like NT. Mere cutting and pasting of exhibit information is not going to, where the marker won't see any application, you're not going to score marks. Should not include content on computer games in general or the opportunities and threats operating a computer system, and that's not asked. So when you are using model, don't lose a sight of what is asked and what information you can make use of to provide a solution thereof. opportunity only? Is it a threat? And if yes, why it's a threat? If you don't elaborate with evidence, the answer will not score marks. Number of candidates provided detailed explanation of big data itself and the 3 V's. Now that was not relevant at all over here. And rightly the examiner says they get no marks. So don't waste time generating irrelevant content which earn no marks for yourself. Don't fail to develop points to explain how an opportunity or how a threat benefits or impacts a company like NT. Mere cutting and pasting of exhibit information is not going to, where the marker won't see any application, you're not going to score marks. Should not include content on computer games in general, the opportunities and threats, operating a computer system, that's not asked. So when you are using model, don't lose a sight of what is asked and what information you can make use of to provide a solution thereof. Very, very critical for you. Let's look at Porter's diamond model, which helps you assess the national advantage. Now, of course, I'm not going to go through the details of what the model itself is, but okay, you revise your learnings by reading chapter 10, and then look for specific references to possible national advantages or national disadvantages, maybe in certain cases, in the pre-seen information as well as exhibits. You need to necessarily identify whether the national advantage is only temporary or sustainable. And then would the new organization setting up shop will be able to get these benefits straight away? Or would they have to necessarily qualify by fulfilling some of the conditions? Ask yourself, why a nation has become competitive for a business? Is it due to its home advantages? Is it location? Is it the geopolitical context? Is it technology? Remember, mere presence of factors does not mean success. They will need to be unique, and you need to catch on the uniqueness of each of the element of Porter's model. The factor conditions, the demand conditions, the supporting industry, the firm structure, strategy, and rivalry. There is the competitiveness. Let's look at a requirement like on this particular model. It's an old exam question, but still very, very useful. What is asked? Prepare a briefing note to finance director, consideration at the board meeting to discuss key factors that have enabled highlight company to be successful in its home country of the land. A direct reference, success in the home country and key factors responsible for that. Well, again, I mean, if you want to write an answer in a general manner, just go on identifying key factors, whatever you feel. It could be internal strengths of the organization. It could be competitive strength of the organization. It could be national advantages. It could be textile factors. It could be anything. But if you were to structure your answer very well, the requirement talks about national advantages, indirectly suggesting use diamond model. So whenever you talk of those 4 or 5 elements of diamond, you need to again come up with your comments like whether the demand conditions are strong or weak, how existing operators are responding to the customer needs, how educated the customers are, what are their likings, supply conditions related to supply of physical, tangible material items, service vendors, employee education, supporting industries in terms of complementing to the business of the company over here, And how are the existing players in that market managing their businesses? What structure do they have? What strategies do they have? And whether they're able to create or take on the competition successfully or otherwise. Now, you need to again look at the scenario and base your comments on that. Let's see what the examiner had to say on this. Strong candidates correctly recognize the requirement could be addressed by using diamond. Stronger candidates were also those that not only identified the factors, but also explained the significance for the success. So how relevant the thought process was when you talk about using diamond, that was very evident in the examiner comments. But at the same time, look at the last one. The weaker candidates were those that provided very limited range of factors driving the company's success. They provided examples of the information included in the case material with little or no explanation. But that's not going to score you marks. So the earlier three models that we looked at, and even the one remaining one that we will see, you will observe that the examiner doesn't test your ability to use a specific model. But then, based on information and requirement, whatever you use, you need to structure your answer accordingly. And for that, you basically have to have the knowledge of those frameworks. Porter's 5 forces. Again here, revise your learnings about all 5 forces from chapter 10 in the ACCA study hub. Once you're confident that you know the framework, look at question practice based on pre-seen information, based on exhibits, how the competitive factors may affect the organization. Again, here you may be required to change your strategy a bit, depending on whether the impact is positive or negative. You need to make use of this framework to assess existing competitiveness, not future, existing competitiveness in an industry. And then you could probably recommend, if required, of course, the growth strategies for innovation, example, to strengthen your competitive position. Look at a question, practice question from ACCA study hub on this. Naturally, there won't be any examiner comments available on this because this is not a past exam question. The company here is considering entering into light bulb industry and potentially doing so by acquiring another company. So it's not a directly organically entering that industry, but picking up an already operating organization. So normally, many students may think that, okay, because this is a new company industry in which the company is getting into, the company seems to be a new entrant. But the company is not directly a new entrant here. It's taking over a company that is already operating in that industry. So we will have to look at the competitiveness of the industry, not directly from the viewpoint of link company, but from the flick company, which is already operating there. And then determine whether the same advantages or threats will apply when link company will take over that company or not. Or would there be some aspects which the company will be able to dilute the negative impact of? For example, if link company is having a very strong cash flow position, which the flick company may not be having, then it could be a positive aspect. Analyze or assess the competitive nature of the light bulb industry. That was the part B of the question for 13 marks. So you need to assess the light bulb industry with regard to the 5 forces. So where existing competitive forces are affecting the performance of flick. So factors factors like technology, capital, or economies of scale, distribution, channel access, they may or may not be barrier for link because there is already an organization that's operating there. But then you need to make use of the information that is available to you. Same is the case for customers' bargaining power. It's a light bulb industry, so the cost of the item is very, very low. Importance of that item for the consumers also may not be very high when you consider the overall cost structure of the customer. Customer may find switching between suppliers very easy. So that could decide the bargaining power of customers. Same way you could analyze the supplier's bargaining power, evaluate the market for substitutes. Now, light bulb industry substitutes may not be much of an issue. So this is the way in which you need to collect information and then assess the competitive nature of that industry. You are supposed to here only assess. Students could, in their enthusiasm, start writing about recommendations. What should the company do? No, that's not asked. 5 forces, 13 marks, so couple of marks per force with supporting evidences from the scenario. That's what going to score you good marks. So in summary, let me tell you that Pestel, SWOT, Diamond, and 5 forces, all these models in a way will help you to assess existing strategic position of the organization within different contexts. And depending on the case, you could decide to apply either a particular model or a combination thereof to meet the requirements. So don't state and explain theory, but apply the framework to the scenario. Use information to support your points. Demonstrate your analytical and evaluation skills. Analysis will help you to answer the why part, as evaluation would help you to consider pros and cons of each of the issue. And as I said, of course, you could make use of combination of the models. So please make sure that before you start practicing questions on any of these, first revise your learnings from the ACCA Study Hub and then take the practice platform questions. If you have the questions from past exams, make sure that you attempt the answers on your own. Compare that answer with the suggested model answer, and then go through the examiner comments to find out what's the gap between your answer and the model answer. Of course, the model is not something which you are encouraged to be writing in the exam, but still go through it so that you can always better your performance. That's it from me in this video. Thank you very much for watching. And
Okay. Yanolua, let me hear your feedback.
So it's a very detailed video. It's about the strategic position analysis. So he explained how to use the various models, the Pestel and SWOT model, the Porter 5 forces and Porter 5 diamond, how to apply this model and how to use them. So he touched base on the how would the model help, like how to use this model in exam scenarios. So we need to understand and analyze the effects of changes in various in the macro environment. We need to evaluate the impact on resources and competencies, understand the effects on organizations, and analysis to help us to prepare for the strategic choices. So he showed us some exam questions and scenarios for PESTEL and SWOT, and he asked us that in exams it's not just about pointing out the models. It's important for us to develop the points and not just pointing out the models. So what else? Yeah, it just explained the models, the Potter five forces, the approach, our approach in answering the questions. For instance, for the PESTEL, he said we need to understand the elements of the external and internal factors. So we need to look for information on how the external and internal factors are affecting the organizations when we are using PESTEL and SWOT. We need to understand the extent to which the external factor could have an impact on the organization. So when we see questions that is turning towards the external environment, then we know we can actually think of using the PESTEL analysis or SWOT analysis. So, and we don't need to, it said we don't need to use all the elements. For instance, like PESTEL, if there is no legal issues, we don't need to say there is a legal issue in the question. So you don't necessarily need to use the elements, that we can lose points trying to use all the elements where they are not stated in the questions. What else? Potter's diamond. He said we should like in Potter's diamond scenario, we can look at the key factors in trying to understand the question. Then Potter five forces, we should understand how competitive environments, competitive factors might affect the organization. So when we see questions that is talking about a new entrant into the industry, then we know that we can start thinking towards making use of the Potter five forces model to answer that question. So we should look at the internal factors, the external factors, competitive factors, resources, and how to think to applying them in SBL question. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. Dr. Adiza. Dr. Adiza, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so from your perspective.
Okay, so I was able to understand that when a question is asked about strategic options or positioning, there are some models you should use to analyze, not necessarily stating the model in the exam questions, but there are like some hints that you would read from the scenario that would be able to channel your thoughts as to what model best fits that question you're being asked. So I was able to learn that when it comes to environmental issues, assessing the microenvironment of an organization, so like you could use appropriate model like the PESTEL analysis, thereby the key analyzing the key factors in that PESTEL. Then environmental issues, you can apply the Porter's diamond to explore the influence of the national competitiveness on the strategic position of an organization. Then also when it entails the internal resources, capabilities, and competences, then here you could use the SWOT analysis. You identify and evaluate the strengths and the weaknesses of an organization. And then opportunity and threats, you would also do that, even though that one inculcates the external issues, yes. Then for competitive forces, evaluate the source of competition in an industry or sector using Porter's five forces framework. Then going further, I think I heard when he said, how would the model help in our SBL exam? So it's just for us to understand and analyze the effects of changes in various elements of the microenvironment. Then you also have to evaluate the impact on the resources and competences. The financial aspect too shouldn't be left out. That is the profitability, cash flow, market capitalization, market growth, etc. Then you also need to understand effects on organization. That is the effect a positive one, opportunities may be available. If it's a negative one, then threats to be guided against. Then also you can actually be able to understand the neutral impacts, which is actually not really material. You could also state that there. Then in addition, he also I was able to learn and understand how to use these models. So you have to look for the preceding information on the exhibit and how the external and internal factors are affecting that organization. That is, do they really necessitate change in the strategy? Is the impact positive or negative? Just like I've said earlier. Then also, he also made mention of key weaknesses that is based on the examiner's comments. It's very important for us to always look at the examiner's comment, especially when we're trying to maybe solve a past question, to be able to see our weaknesses. That's actually very important. Once you're done solving, you should actually go and look at your weakness in order for you to develop it. So some of the weaknesses he made mention of is failure to focus on external factors. It's actually a weakness. Then also presenting generic answers. They're actually not asking you of the model. They want you to actually um, they want you to read the scenario and fit in, not just normal generic answers, what the model is talking about. No, related to the passage or scenario. Then also no reference made at all on the impact. So it's just not you mentioning what that model is all about. You should actually state the impact on those environments, be it internal or external factor. Then also incomplete answers, which only covered a limited range of external environmental factors. So this is just you giving like, okay, incomplete answers. Okay, maybe if you're talking about the pestle or the SWOT analysis and you're just giving like, okay, maybe you just decide to give maybe three, maybe probably the political or social, neglecting other aspect of it. It's actually one of the comments the examiner made. Then I think in summary, he said, don't state and explain theory, but apply to the scenario, which I've said earlier. Use information to support your points. Then demonstrate analytical skills and evaluation skills while answering the question. Then also, I think he made mention of you may use the combination of models to make the answer look comprehensive. Yes, yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. That is a very brilliant point, and I'm glad that in upcoming exam, you guys are already noting what. And please, I want you to adopt that in your respective exam. So let's take a deep dive on what we learned, where we stopped the last class. We talk about risk manager, their roles and responsibility, and when we talk about rules are as enshrined in the relevant enterprise risk management policy for the organization. And your case study will speak to that. But in terms of responsibility, there are generic responsibility for a risk manager. And one of them is managing the different kind of risk in an organization. So when we talk about the risk in an organization, observe the scenario created in the case study. The scenario created in the case study will guide your thoughts, will guide your answer as you go along in answering them. But no matter what, there must be an element of identification and assessment of threats, how to put plan in place in case of things go wrong, and how to decide which risk to accept, which risk to avoid, which risk to reduce, or which risk to transfer. In short, which risk are we applying Tara or Sama model? These are the questions that were asked in this September diet for SBL. And any serious student that had listened carefully in class and have solved relevant question will be able to perform gratefully. And part of our assignment last week was something around risk register. We'll talk about risk register. Also able to pinpoint the responsibility of a risk manager. I know the task is depending on the scenario that was created. It's talking about the industry. That is in line in which you build your risk register, having understand the requirement of the question. No matter the risk register they ask to prepare, these are the generic headings. The register must have a description on the risk, the relationship with other risk. Remember when we are talking about other risk, we talk about financial risk, product risk, talk about economic risk, we talk about technology risk. Those are the interdependency that you must discuss in your answer. Then the quantification. Remember the probability of occurrence and the impact of occurrence. Then the ranking based on probability. Remember we did something like this on the heat map. This heat map will determine the ranking of importance in the risk register. Then who is responsible for the risk? There's something we call RACI model. RACI model, RACI. RACI model will determine who is responsible for the risk. RACI is talking about RACI. That is the responsible, the appropriate, the controlling, and the informative person that will handle that particular risk. So that will come place in terms of person or department responsible for managing the risk. Then the plan, how to deal with the risk, the date that the risk will take on, and the control activities to limit the risk. The control activities we talk about the Tara or Sama model. Are we transferring? Are we accepting? Are we managing? These are what I gave as part of the assignment, and some gave good judgment of themselves, but most of you mixed it up. That's why I'm starting from that aspect. Who can speak to what we have here as a risk register? Who can interpret it? This particular risk register, who can interpret it? Okay, Chika.
The page is gone.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, it's just an example of risk register of a UK National Health Scheme Trust. It's just giving us the details of the risks. First of all, the reference numbers, then the source or location of the risk, the date the risk was registered in the risk register, and then a brief description of the kind of risk it is, the nature of the risk. Then the lead officer, probably the committee, the person leading the risk committee, Then the rating, whether the risk is high or extreme or low. Then the action summary. And probably the action the organization is supposed to take to mitigate the risk. Then we have the completion date. So the first one is the trust board. The source of the risk is the trust board. And it was registered on 1st September 2016. The nature of the risk is failure to meet waiting list targets. Waiting list in terms of probably the patients that are on queue for consultation or something. Then the CEO is the lead officer. It's a very high risk. It's extreme, more than high. So the action summary is to monitor performance against targets. Then increase theater capacity. Completion date, it's ongoing as of January 2018. That's all.
Khadija,
Then
can you
the
speak to
second,
this risk register?
okay.
Because these are what practically, if they bring something around product risk, you still be asked to design a risk register. So I want to ensure that this you guys understand this particular aspect from building a risk register that I mentioned here. If you can interpret, you can build your own. So Dr. Adisa, can you speak to what you are saying here?
Yes, sir. So
Yeah, please do.
the first is actually the reference, then reference number. Then the second item is the description of each risk. So the first one here is the trust board. That is the description. Then the date of a register. That is the date the risk was registered is there. Then the description now is failure to meet waiting list targets. Then that lead officer is just talking about the person responsible for managing the risk, which is the CEO there. Then the rating there is just talking about how intense the risk is. And this one is actually extreme. Then the action plan could be like the control activities to limit the risk, which here is actually monitor performance against targets, then increase theater capacity. Then the complete date, that is the risk completed, is it ongoing? Just like here, you can see that is ongoing as at the date mentioned there.
So please, that question that I talk about risk register that I shared during the week, if you understand it now, go over that question again and let's see what you'll be able to like master, because they won't ask you to do heat map. But if you don't understand a heat map, like look at the rating that they apply here. Look at the rating column. This rating column is speaking to whatever you must have done on heat map. Can you see a string on top of the heat map? Can you see a string? Some can be remote and some can be unlikely. But if you don't understand the heat map, you will not know what to place on the rating. Yanolua, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Please, if you don't understand the heat map is how you pair the impact and the likelihood together. How you pair the consequence and the probability together. If you don't understand it, you don't know which one to put high, which one to put medium. And you can see that if rating is talking about what you arrive at after pairing likelihood and impact together. Do you see? So please, this is a very interesting part. And irrespective of the question, there are ways they can keep it in for you. And look at the Tara model. Like we explained the last time, if you don't understand the Tara model, you will not know how to look at the action summary, look at the complete date, because it's a Tara model that will guide your action in that particular aspect. So please, let's pay attention to it. And your study plan, your study pack, explain this in greater details. Is there anyone that is here that is not clear with this Tara model, so I can re-explain again? Eh? Is there anyone that's not that, so that I can explain again? Is there anyone that is not clear with this Tara model, so that I can re-explain again, or I should continue?
Sir, please explain it briefly.
Okay, remember I'm talking about, you know, where we are coming from. This is where we were coming from. But we were talking about embedding the risk. Do we have risk awareness in the organization? Do we have the risk action or risk attitude? How is management questioning risk? Or are they taking risk for granted? If they are taking risk for granted, what is the mission of each of the organization? And how have they embedded training on risk for all the staff in the organization? So with that in mind, and having built our heat map, we have not the one that has high impacts. Like any risk that is extreme, are we going to transfer? Are we going to accept? Are we going to mitigate? Or are we going to reject? Any risk that is high, any risk that is medium, any risk that is moderate or negligible or low, how are we going to accept it? If a risk is extreme and probability is probable, that means it may happen. Are we going to accept or reject or manage it? So once you can generate your risk map, you'll be able to know how to manage the risk. So when the likelihood is high and impact is high, that is an extreme and high probable risk. For such risk, we avoid, because high impact, high probability. And if the impact is also high, but the likelihood is low. Impact is high, but likelihood of occurrence is low. Those are the risks we think about transferring. Because when you transfer through insurance, through joint venture, through partnership, when you transfer, it reduces your exposure. But when the likelihood is high, but the impact is low, those are the ones that you can manage. Because the impact is low, you can manage it. But when the impact is low and likelihood is also low, those are the risks that you accept. As you can see, when there is low, no action, you just accept it. When the impact is low and likelihood is high, those are the risks that you place internal control officer to be monitoring, or through insurance. But when the impact is high and likelihood is also high, those are the risks that you avoid. But if the impact is high, likelihood is low, you transfer. You can use insurance for both transfer and reduce. But transfer can be a form of hedging. Hedging risk. What am I saying by hedging? Now that the dollar is crashing, those that have hedged their risk by carrying out a future option by buying at a 1.6. Now they don't have any problem, though the other party is at loss. That is hedging. Outsourcing is a form of risk transfer. Strategic alliance and joint venture are also form of risk transfer. So Tara model is a veritable tool that will help you not only just in risk model, model, but also in other realm of activities that you may consider that involve weighing impact and likelihood. So is it clear to you now?
Yes, sir.
So you can go back to that question now and be able to speak to Tara model carefully, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me now ask you, when we are looking at reducing, when we have low impact and high likelihood, what do you think we are referring to?
We are referring to reducing the risk.
Thank you. And we are reducing risk because that business, we must still go into it. If we don't go into it, it's one of our core, what do you call it, core business area. And we can't make it do without solving it. So I just let me call your attention to that particular aspect. And ALAP, I'm sure we can still remember ALAP. Do you remember ALAP? Do you remember ALAP? Please, let's answer so that I know whether to remember to revise or not.
No, sir.
Eh?
No, have we done it? We've not done it in this class.
I will not allow this now.
So maybe it was a class I missed.
Pardon?
I said maybe it was a class I missed.
And you've not listened to the video.
No, sir.
Please, when you miss a class, the video is always available. Why I had to go over it because it's part of those questions that came out on Monday for the SBL students. And why some gave justice, I'll just imagine, okay, my students, if something of such is asked them, will they be able to answer it? And you can see from video that we have watched, what ACCA they are looking at for you is how you can relate it to a scenario, how you can break it down and ensure that you can reasonably explain it. So when we talk about ALAP is applicable in industry like hospitality, oil and gas. You know, in an hospital, there's no way they will not record issue of death. True or false?
True.
But it must be as low as reasonably practicable. Because don't say you are on hospital and people are just dying. Whatever you are applying, whatever that is happening there must be as low as reasonably practicable. In the sense that if there is fire on the oil rig, there is fire on the oil rig, there must be a way and spark your response to ensure that damages that will cause from the fire must be as low as practicable, in the sense that there must be several precautions as part of your risk response. There must be several precautions in line of the risk tolerance and risk appetite of the organization. And for health sector or oil and gas, danger is unavoidable. But part of risk response for an organization is to ensure that when danger occurs, the damages to either human or material is low as reasonably practicable. So in the case of a scenario, look at what they are driving at. And you know, we discussed COSO model. COSO model, if you remember COSO model that we discussed, there are 5 elements. First one is, sorry, there are like 8 elements. When we talk about COSO model, there is one that has 5 model, but the one that discuss the enterprise risk management model is 8 steps. And one of them is risk response. If you remember, when we talk about internal environment or business environment, objective settings, how to identify events, how to carry out risk assessments, then risk response. Risk response is where we talk about ALAP, is where we talk about TARA model. From risk response, we will have to build control activities. I will talk to the TARA model that we have built, and also talk to the ALAP principle that we have built. So from the risk response, we have the control activities. We embed our TARA, SAMA, or ALAP principle, so that the control will be guided, the control activities will be guided by our risk appetite. And as such, all relevant information and communication that may come out from it will enable to monitor the incidents or occurrence properly in the organization. There is a material that I've shared with you already on the ERM model and also on the TARA model. But remember, we have done 4 lines of defense. Okay. Yanoluwa, remember we have done 4 lines of defense.
Yes, sir. We've done.
Yes.
Yes.
Ajisa was also in class that day. Yeah. Yes. So I just scrolled back here because the question came out. And that's when we talk about the assurance mapping. Okay, so can you remember now? Can you remember now?
Yeah, I can remember. But is that what's on the board?
Can't you see assurance mapping on the slide?
Yeah, I didn't remember the mapping correctly, but I know we discussed the lines of defense.
Yanoluwa, Adiza, did you discuss it or not?
Yes, I can remember. I was the one that even said something about these 4 lines of defense.
Thank you. So please, let's go back. There is video. IoT has a recording of our previous classes. So please, let's go back to that video and brush up our knowledge. If you cannot watch the video, I have shared some article already that speak to this. That will help you to jumpstart your memory. So let me go to something that you need to know today. We're talking about technology and data and analytics. This is the future. This is the current. This is what is driving the world now. and it's going to drive the world. No matter what, whether AI or machine learning, they are being driven by technology. They are being driven by data analytics. And why are we learning machine learning? Why are we learning AI? Part of it is data analytics and automation. We have one something that we call cloud computing. What's cloud computing? Let me tell you where it started from. You know, before in organization, we have a situation whereby our server is always on premises. So you hear server on-prem, server on-prem. When server is on premises, it means that the server that we are using is in our organization. And because it's still with us, there are a lot of risks that it is exposed to. And based on that, some virtualization occur in the business world, in which we have some cloud service provider. And what are they doing? They have some machine somewhere, and they will ask you to subscribe to it as your storage. Just like your Google phone that you have now. The phone you have in your hand, your email address. Don't think it's your full memory that is working for your email address. So no. It's working with a particular storage somewhere, most especially in the US. That is storing your message, and you observe you have 15 gigabytes free. When that 15 gigabyte is free, that is when they will allow you to be subscribing and be paying a particular amount on monthly or quarterly or biannual basis. And as such, if you are the type that do greatly, like deal with a lot of data, you deal with the big data, 15 gigabytes cannot do you. You have to subscribe to 100 gigabytes, 1000 terabytes, so that you can have enough storage on your phone. So that kind of cloud computing that is done with virtualization is what we call cloud computing. And based on the service provider, the company will be paying certain amounts on monthly basis as a subscription to it. But it comes in 4 modules. We have the software as a service, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and the one that is what we call integrated cloud computing. That one combine the whole 4. Based on the structure, the first one is IaaS, infrastructure as a service. This is very, very popular. It takes care of your computing, networking, and storage resources. What it just is just for you to log on. When you log on, you'll be in an environment that is cloud-based. And it's something that when your volume of work increases, when your volume of activities increases, it's scalable. That means scalable means you can scale it up. If your volume of data reduces, you can also scale it down. So infrastructure as a service is the most basic form in which the cloud service provider offers a very limited networking and storage resources and allow the user to make use of it on scalability level. That means instead of you having your own infrastructure by yourself, you can subscribe, especially when you are just starting your new business. You can make a subscription so that your server is hosted there. Everything you need about networking. I want to talk about networking, your internet provider, how you split your internet with your staff is there. You just subscribe and they make use of it. And an example is AWS. Most companies now, they are on AWS 3. If you want to launch a product now, you can subscribe to Amazing Web Service 3. That is the current one. Or MS Azure. MS Azure is somehow complicated, but most companies are using Amazon Web Service 3. all your APIs, all your networking requirements is there. You just make a subscription that you pay annually. Some companies prefer to pay quarterly so that it will not be something that will be more than them. An example is your office email. Your office email that you are doing is a kind of infrastructure as a service. The next one is platform as a service. Platform as a service enable you to have, in addition to your infrastructure is in the cloud, you can also build your own software. You can build and deploy your own software through the cloud. For example, most banks' mobile app are based in cloud. So for such company, they will subscribe to platform as a service. Their mobile app will be based inside on the cloud. So in addition to infrastructure, they will also be able to build and deploy their mobile app on the net, on the cloud. So rather than having the server for the mobile app in the office somewhere, it's in the cloud. So for platform as a service, it makes use of infrastructure in addition to an environment that will enable them to develop, test, deploy, and maintain their own applications. It can be mobile banking application. It can be a website application. It can be what do you call it, wholesale application. It can be any form of application. But for it to be a platform as a service, it must have infrastructure to it, in addition to an environment where they can develop, build, and deploy the application. Then the most big man is software as a service. Software as a service, for that one to occur, means that you don't have any issue. The only issue you have is that you want to be building your software, and rather than for you to be procuring several laptops, several servers. No, you just make a subscription, make a subscription, make a subscription to the cloud service, and it just keep managing for you. For example, there is something we normally use in the office, like Teams. Yes, Teams. For Teams, you just log in, like these Teams that we are using now. We just log in and you can see all the stuff are there for us. How are they recording it? And we don't know where they are keeping it. The file we are downloading it, who is storing for us? We don't know. So Teams is a software. Google Meet is also a software. Zoom is a software. You just log in, you are using their infrastructure. Once meeting is over, once you log off, nothing affects you. So please know the difference so that when you are answering questions, you'll be able to prefer a reasonable answer to it. And based on this cloud service model, there are several other models in which it can be delivered. There are several models in which it can be delivered. We say the apps are built, powered, and hosted using the cloud technology. There are several models in which it can be delivered. But that model is driven by technology and opportunity. What are we driving at? Are we driving at new way of doing things? Are we driving at cost leadership? Or are we trying to forge an alliance? Whichever we are trying to do will determine the model that we are to use. If you are looking for a new way of doing business, what we look out for is private cloud. Private cloud. Private cloud is one that is used exclusively by the clients. Private cloud. But if you are looking at forging alliance, if you are looking at cost leadership, we can go for public cloud. Public cloud means that whatever we are doing is we are renting a public infrastructure. We are renting and paying a public cloud infrastructure. But for a private cloud, we are the one that is hosting the cloud. We are the one hosting the cloud by ourselves. When we host the cloud, no other third party is engaged. But if public cloud, we are subscribing to a cloud provided by a third party. But there can be some strategic opportunities that for us, only us to be using private cloud will be too expensive. We can now do a mix of both public and private cloud. That's what we call hybrid cloud. For some opportunities like need of doing business, expanding products, we can put those ones on our private cloud. But for some issue like differentiation, differentiating some products, cost leadership, or trying to forge strategic alliance, those one can be on public cloud. So with that, we can make it as a policy that our cloud model is basically hybrid, which means that some of our resources are on the private cloud, while some are on the public cloud. So when we talk about the cloud, what are the factors that we must consider? What is the cost? Gone are the days that we do cost-benefit analysis. Now, what we do it? Cost, benefit, and impact analysis. From the impact analysis, you will know the benefits that will accrue to you. Benefit from cloud can be increase in savings. The money that you should have spent on buying server, buying some physical equipment, you have saved it. Then there is security. Most of the servers, they use what you call multi-factor authentication, which means that you don't sign it by password. No, it will involve what you are, what you know, and what you have. Also, one of the benefits of cloud is flexibility. I discussed scalability the other time, and mobility. You don't need to move about with it. Then another benefit of cloud is in the aspect that it can give you, it creates more greater impact. For example, if you look at your Google, if you look at your phone, it will tell you how many minutes you have spent on phone call on your phone in the past week. That's insights, aspect of insights. So as part of cost, you must look at the benefit and the impact analysis. Also, cash flow. What is the cash flow of your business? Are you trying to start up of your business, or you are already in the midst of cash to the tune that you have a cash cow already? You have some products that are cash cow already. Then changing it. Those are another factor to consider. These 6 points that are listed here are what ACCA normally tests, but they want you to like customize it to what will suit a scenario or case study that has been created. These are the benefits I'm talking about. Ease of setup, reliability, cost effectiveness, but there are risks. If you look at number 3 question that I gave you in your case study that you are solving today, look at the risk. Data security is there. And if you are using a public cloud, there is a reliance on the internet service provider, and those ones can misbehave. They can say network is down, the cloud is down, the cloud has an issue, system outage, then IP right issues. There can be what we call IP clashing. IP clashing. IP clashing occurs when same IP code is made available to more than one organization. You know, this IP thing is like you are paying rent because it's public, it's a public cloud. Because public cloud, the rent that you pay today, the rent that you pay today, and if you stop paying rent, another person might abuse it. And if it is issued to another person, it can cause an issue when you come back and you say you want to do that. But these days, we have something we call dynamic IP. So that one has greatly managed down because of there is rise in privacy. So most cloud service provider, as part of their virtualization, they involve what we call dynamic uh, dynamic IP. So this risk, no matter the question that they bring, there must be risk. There must be risk. And especially for IP, when they ask you what are the issues that can happen with IP, IP is something that can be manageable, but if not managed properly, can be a source of privacy risk to the organization. Any question on that? Any question, please? Are we clear?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, thank you. So let's look at the mobile technology. This one is what you are holding in your phone. Some of you are listening to the class via using your phone. And not only phone, there's also something we call iPad. Some of us are using iPad. Me, I love iPad a lot. But let's remove mobile. Let's talk about technology first. In our home, we have a lot of technology, smart TV, smartwatch. I think there are a smart car now. Car that is using electricity. So when we're talking about that smart, everything is still based on the cloud. But for technology, now we even have 6G itself. In some countries, they already have 6G networking. So for instance, look around you. What are technologies that you can see around you aside your smart wristwatch? Even we have something that we call what did I hear over the week? Oh, smart gasoline. Yes, smart gasoline. In some country now, there are ways in which the gasoline that they are using, a way in which it can be extended, the lifespan can be extended. I don't know. I didn't get clearly. Well, all I'm saying is that when you look at the technology, the different technology separately from current year and previous year. You know, before COVID, anything that we must do is physical. We must go to class physical, office physical. But COVID now throw us out. There's something you can do with remote access. For remote access, you just need a VPN. And what is VPN? Virtual Private Network. VPN, it creates a kind of encryption that mitigates tapping to your network. And as such, that is what mobile technology is relying on. Mobile technology is relying on remote access. Remote access in the sense that with the right encryption, there will be mitigated eavesdropping. And how does he use remote access? It can be mostly through network. But you know, Bluetooth is also a remote access. You are in your car, you are playing music, you are not connecting it. It's remote. Wi-Fi is also remote. You have a laptop, does not have network, but you have a phone that has a network. You create a password, they connect and they are communicating. Radio network, this one, we call it RFID, radio frequency intrusion detection, intrusion dependency. When you go to ShopRite to buy something, they will pick the item and flash something across that bring out the price. That is RFID. So with mobile technology comes with a lot of benefits. Part of the benefit is flexibility, availability, cost savings. There must be cost savings, something around ease of use, something around enhanced management. But the risk is always there. There is health risk, there is maintenance risk, there is a IT risk, there is security risk, and aside that, there's what we call trending risk. For example, now somebody can copy the voice of Aisha or copy the voice of Labara Adisa, and when you hear it, you know that it's not her. So there are different facets of fraud that mobile technology and smart technology are bringing into being. And as such, if you look at the benefits, at times the challenges outweigh the benefits. Look at privacy and data protection regulation. That's one of the challenges of smart technology. Because when you are using the cloud, where your data are being stored is across border. And there are different regulations for issues that happen across border. Aside that, data storage and processing costs, the amount you pay, whether annually or biannually, may not be sustainable by the business. So when you are trying to look at the benefits, look at the case study carefully and try to depict or understand try to depict and understand what the case study is driving towards. So I've shared some material. You can see why I like sharing the articles ahead of the class. You can see that this material is already on your group. So now let's go to data analytics. ACCA has a special training for this. Some of us have attended it, and it's very, 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 very value-adding. But no worry, no matter what, we'll get from here. So when we talk about data analytics, we talk about data. Data is unstructured information. When it is structured, it's now become an information. But at times, the data may not be fully structured. So we still have semi-structured data. Data can come in triples, and come in volumes. But those data that are in high volumes are what we call big data. For big data to make sense, they must be analyzed. And that's where data analytics comes in. And when they are analyzed, it must make sense to business. And for it to make sense to business, that's where we have business information or management information system. In your company, you must have what we call MIS or BIS. If you don't have such, unless you're working for me and you, Nigeria Limited. If me and Nigeria Limited, there is management information system around it. So let's look at big data. I've said that big data is when data are coming in trickles. For example, look at Google, look at Facebook, look at Twitter, look at LinkedIn. Can you understand the volume of data that they are generating per seconds, per minute, or on daily basis? Can you imagine? If you can imagine it, that's how you can understand when we talk about big data. Big data are extremely large sets, like Facebook. You know, when you hear that musicians are being paid in dollar for their musics, or those that are on Facebook, they are being paid. Why won't they be paid? Because the kind of data that is being generated per seconds in the world, in the global market, is just too enough, just too much for any informed decision. So when you hear big data, They are a extreme set of data that analyze. And in fact, these days, machine learning is what is helping people to understand big data. So, SBL wants to know 5 Vs of big data, but we have up to like 8 Vs. The last time is 9 Vs of big data. The first one is volume. Sorry. When we talk about volume of data is like in gigabytes. In the sense that you cannot use one laptop to store it. It must even, in fact, if you are using a server to store it, that time you say server crash, the server is down because the volume of data that are being exchanged. That's why it can be stored in the cloud. And based on the subscription, just imagine a company like Samsung, like MTN, the volume of data that they'll be working with. So it's often huge. And for a company like Twitter, Facebook, for companies like Instagram, just imagine the volume of data that they are dealing with. Or companies that are selling products through the website, imagine the volume of data that they are working with. You can see that it's very, very huge. So that's where volume is talking to. The next one is velocity. Velocity is how quick can the data travel to aid decision making. How quick can we have access to the data to make decision making? The higher the volume of data, the slower the velocity, unless there is high available memory space. So volume affects velocity, because velocity is talking about how speed, how fast, how quick can we have data for information sake. How quick can we have information for whether performance management or other usage? Then the next one is variety. Next one is variety. Variety in the sense that what kind of data would you need? What kind of data do you want to work with? And with that type of data, you'll be able to understand how you want to use it. So variety is like when you enter a canteen, and you want to determine what you want to eat. So variety is talking about what kind of activities are you going to use the data for. For some company like MTN now, what they'll be dealing with is calls and browsing. Well, and for some companies, what they'll be dealing with, if like banks, what they'll be dealing with is data on how they give out loan, data on how customers are downloading their app, data on how they are making, how many customers is visiting their websites. So that is what variety is talking about. And from that variety, they can customize products to a particular customer. Then the other one is this variety of data. What kind of data can we be talking about? Variety will now take you to 3 types of data. We have the unstructured data, semi-structured data, and structured data. When you have variety, it talks us to 3 types of data: unstructured, semi-structured, and structured data. Unstructured data are information that are not defined. When you see it, you see the form of a full stop, column, semicolon, and the rest. That is unstructured. For example, If you want to understand what is a unstructured data mean, go to your backend of your Facebook, of your system. There's a way you can look at how information is being transferred with your network and your internet. Or let me say, when you want to go for a Zoom, a team meeting, and they share the link with you. If you look at the link, you will see several words that are linked together. You cannot make meaning of it. That's a kind of example of a kind of unstructured data. Semi-structured is composite of unstructured and structured in the sense that if you enter a large store now and you are trying to use your phone to buy something and your data finish, that's when you understand semi-structured. On your end, maybe due to breakdown in communication, you have been debited, but your data finish. The other guy have not seen the amount, you cannot get the product. Or maybe in an instance whereby you are trying to download an information, and when you are downloading, the loading is not complete. You will have some type of graphical display of information that will not make sense to you. That will be semi-structured. In such instance, if network can roll and it's finished, you can have something that will make sense to you, whereby the other will be in form of a link. So semi-structured is both a complete information and link that we need to click before you can arrive at your derived location. Then the other one is the structured data. This one is what we are all used to. You are trying to download a picture. You are trying to watch a film on YouTube with a good network. You can be seeing the video. But when the network misbehaves, that's when you see that the picture will open out. So it's structured, but it's not in the variety that you like. So when you talk about big data, I've explained volume, velocity, variety. Then the other one is veracity. When we hear veracity, I'm sure you can look it from the English. It's talking about the accuracy. How accurate is the data? If the data is not accurate, in fact, this veracity is the shock absorber for big data. Once the data is not accurate, whenever you are dealing with the volume, velocity, or variety, it makes no meaning. And veracity also affects value. It affects value. If the veracity is not accurate, the data will not be valuable to you. You can't make use of your data. So when you hear big data, remember the 5 V's. And the 5 V's: volume, velocity, variety, veracity, and value. Mind you, veracity or accuracy is the topmost of all these features. So before I discuss big data strategy, there is something we call how to process and analyze data. Also, analyze data, there are several tools that we can use. Excel is there, Power BI is there, Python is there, and SQL is there. Now, let me ask you, Excel, Power BI, Python, and SQL, which of these 4 items can you use? 4 software can you use? Let me start from Yanolua.
I use Excel, SQL, and not too often Power BI.
Okay. Dr. Adiza.
Yes, sir. I can use all.
You use all?
Yes, I took the course on data analytics, ACCA.
Can you see now? You can be talking at So you know how to use Python very well, right?
Yes.
Then you should go into machine learning. That's what I'm trying to learn now, so that I can build some API of my own, machine learning and AI.
Oh, okay.
What of you?
Is it me?
Yes. Excel,
I only know how
Power
to use
BI,
Excel.
SQL, and Python.
I only know how to use Excel.
Please improve. You just get it because I'm impressed when Nadisa says she has done ACCA data analytics. And the thing is improving year on year. It helps you to dissect data. It helps you to investigate data. Like now, I want to discuss data strategy. When we talk about data strategy, you look at your business objective and the kind of data that you have. That's what will drive your big data strategy. So when you look at what's your business objective, are you experimental or you want to carry out measurements? And your data type, is it transactional or non-transactional? Transactional can also be what we call structured data. Non-transactional can be unstructured or semi-structured. So what kind of data do you have? If your business objective is measurement and you have a transactional data, then you can carry out performance management. If your business objective is measurement and you have non-transactional data, that's what we call social analytics. Then you talk about in volumes. How in volume has this increased? Then you can carry out comparison analysis between LinkedIn, Twitter, and social. Where have we grown? Because you are doing measurements and you're looking at non-transactional. But once it's transactional, what you'll be doing is performance management. For example, a particular product, you are carrying out measurements. And for a product, it must be transactional. So when it's transactional, what we'll be doing is performance management. Now, appraiser. And most of you don't like to talk about appraiser. Appraiser, because it's subjective and objective. Now, let me make you laugh. Part of our appraiser in IoT or any tutorial center is volume of student pass rate. Do you think that is fair? Eh?
Can you please repeat, sir? What did you say?
I say part of performance management in most tutorial center is student pass rate in an exam. Do you think that is a fair measurement?
No, partially. It shouldn't be only the exam.
When you say partially, I no agree. Do you think that one is a fair performance measurement?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's fair.
Why?
Because even though I know, like, I pay for it and you deliver your services, but it's supposed to be impactful on me. And being impactful means I should be able to pass the exams. That's why you're my tutor. If I have areas of deficiency, even though I know you will do your part and allow me, you should guide me through. You shouldn't just leave me like that and write and fail. So I think it's a very fair measure.
Don't know this. Now, as a lecturer, in a school, you can determine the exam, Abi.
Yes.
You can determine your student pass rate, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
For a stubborn exam like ACCA, talk from that.
Your line is breaking, sir.
Talk from that aspect.
No, from ACCA.
I say for a stubborn exam like ICAN and ACCA, talk from that aspect.
No, ACCA is like a 50-50, to be honest.
Same thing with ICAN too, right?
Yes.
So what I'm drawing at time is that before you can talk about measurement, at times you need to go to experimental. Why experimenting? Look at the transactional data that you have. Experiment. How we experiment? By carrying out data exploration. Data exploration will now open your way to see that, can I actually measure? So in most business world, before you can carry out measurement on the transactional data, you must first of all experiment with the transactional data. And that experimentation is what leads us to data exploration. Look at the data. You now know how to embed which data to measure who. So for example, now for tutorial center, if you want to carry out data exploration, look at student attendance in classes. How are they attending classes? Is it regular or irregular? How are they passing their exam? If we are to be researching now, we'll be looking at which one is dependent variable and which one is independent variable. I'll be doctor at this. But because it's data exploration, you look at which data to match that will enable you to know whether to carry out performance management or social analytics. And there are times you match your experimentation with a non-transactional data. When you are trying to do that, you are trying to look at which decision can you make. For example, through this decision science, most people know that when you are posting regularly on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram, you get paid more. But when you are posting on LinkedIn, you don't get paid on LinkedIn. You use your paying LinkedIn. How do people know that? It's through experimentation with non-transactional data. So when you are looking at big data strategy, first of all, you must consider the use. Are you using your data for? What are you using your data for? Is it for predictive analysis? Is it for descriptive analysis? Or predictive? We have predictive, prescriptive, and descriptive analysis. In which of the one what you are using it for, you will now look at your business objective. It's now based on your business objective, be it measurement or experimentation, that you now determine to know whether you will merge it with transactional data. If you are merging it with transactional data, you either carry out performance management or data exploration. But if you are merging it with non-transactional data, that means you are left with social analytics or decision science. And that decision science will aid which app you tend to use most, or which app you tend to use less. Is it clear?
Yes, it is.
Any question? Any question? Okay. So please note all this so that by the time you are reading your case study, it will jumpstart your memory. We have discussed this. We have discussed this in the aspects of the data, big data risk. And one of the most popular risks that you come out in the exam is privacy. Your exam wants to just see any form of risk. No matter the case study, there will be privacy risk and there will be data security risk. And when we talk about the volume of data, we talk about veracity. That is talking about accurate or inaccuracy of a data. So this one that you are seeing on the screen is a natural answer in your exam when you come across any risk that can align to a data. No matter what they are discussing, privacy must come in. Data security must come in. The veracity, that is accurate or inaccurate, must come in. Then naturally, sample that represent population or stuff must also come in. Do we get it? So this is what I was mentioning about. If anyhow you want to carry out a data use, these are the three that will determine your business, that will determine your business objective. What determines your business objective is, what am I using my data for? Is it descriptive? That is when you are trying to describe trends, or predictive, when you are anticipating, or prescriptive, when you are trying to like prescribe a course of action. Once you merge it with your business objective, you will know whether you are carrying out measurements or experimentation. And as such, you merge it with either transactional or non-transactional data, and you make up with your strategy that you want to use. Please, 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 when you cram this, know how to use it. Know how to use it in the exam. It's not just good for cramming. It's not just good for cramming. It's for you to understand properly. I've also shared this article with us so that we can read up. And AI machine learning, we have watched video and we have learned that one in our previous class. So for exam focus, like they say, look at the first line. Yanoluwa, can you read the first line for us?
You do not need to be an IT expert to perform well in the SBL exam. However, you must be aware of how technology and data analytics can be used in leading or managing a business more effectively.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So that you guys will not be scared that IT expert, Kinikondo, going to be a data analyst, like Dr. Adiza. And for you to be a perfect data analyst, you must have detailed knowledge of a Python so that you can know how to like construct, mine, and all those softs for the data. You don't need to be that. Just understand the scenario. Understand the scenario and know how to pick the answer. And look at the last note. Rote learning, description of big data or cloud computing with no explanation of the use in the organization were avoided no mark. That's why I say understand the case study properly. When you understand the case study properly, you'll be able to like mind, I didn't say mix. Mix means mixed. Something that you can miss. And when you miss it, you'll be able to apply it properly in the exam. And the case study I share with you, it's a very veritable stuff that you can make use of. And that's why I'm giving you each time today 1 hour alone to read the case study, and another 1 hour for you to solve. Why is this not sharing? For you to solve the question. Some people say, 1 hour is not enough. I know 1 hour is not enough. But whatever I can do 1 hour, I want to see it. So let's go on. So we did this last week, but I want to remind you again this week, because some questions that you'll be solving, step number 2, speak to this. And I will love if you can immerse yourself in that case study and the exhibit. 1 hour is not a small time, please. Don't say because Omori has says you use 1 hour, you now be using to watch Nollywood or what do you call it? This lover. No. Dedicate it to that, to solve the question that we have agreed. So let's look at EBE business. I shared a video around, I will watch a video together on this, but there's a particular aspect I want to call our attention to. Most of us normally mix up in the exam, e-business and e-commerce. They are not the same thing. They are not the same thing. Okay, can we help us to lay emphasis on differences between e-business and e-commerce? We are waiting for you.
Okay. Is it from what we have on there?
Yes.
It says that e-business is the transformation of key business processes through the use of internet technologies, while the e-commerce is conducting business transactions over electronic network by way of linked computer systems.
So, what do you understand by this?
Yeah, the e-business is a kind of a different business processes, or probably different businesses. You use internet to connect those businesses, and then the e-commerce itself is transactionary, as in a particular transaction, doing it through the computer system or through electronic network. Yeah, the actual trading is the commerce.
Yanulua, what do you understand?
So from the definition, so e-business is I'll start with e-commerce. E-commerce deals with transactions like buying and selling. There is a two-way transaction. So there's a transaction, and these transactions are done electronically. Why e-business is the use of internet to, from the definition, to transform different business processes. Yeah, I just explained the definition.
Probably like sourcing of the raw materials to the processing, and then warehousing, and then distribution. That's the e-business.
Adisa, what do you understand by
Yes.
this?
Okay, for e-business, I feel e-business, with what I'm saying, is a business process through the use of internet technology. So I think e-business is more broader. It actually inculcates all other aspects using the internet, maybe like your internal operations, production, etc. Maybe recruitment. It all has to do with e-business. It inculcates everything in general. While e-commerce just purely just focuses on buying and selling of those products online.
E-business is the other part of normal business. Normal business will do physical transaction. So any transaction that you are not doing physical, that is online, is e-business. For example, this class, you can have either physical class or e-class. You get it? So what we are having now is part of e-business. Because what are we using? We are using internet technologies. But e-commerce is anything that buying and selling. So e-commerce focus specifically on buying and selling. Whereby e-business is consider all. So you can see e-business as a kind of umbrella. But e-commerce, buying and selling, or anything that is done electronically via computer system. For example, if you go to some stores and you are trying to carry out a transaction, there will be no human. There will be no human. Both what you are picking, how you are scanning, is done through interacting with computers. That is e-business. But that is e-commerce. But e-business You are not there physically. You are just on internet carrying out both buying and selling, and the review will be done to you at a later date. But for e-commerce, what is only missing is people interaction. You can go there physically to search for your item. To do it physically, but you are still using computer to answer. That is e-commerce. But for e-business, physicality does not come into play at all. Is it clear to us?
Yes.
Most students in the exam, they will question we ask about e-business, but they will be discussing e-commerce. Examiner will not be writing useless reports on them. Like the customer, the student was discussing e-commerce, but the question is on e-business. You know that it can be painful when the question is on e-business, but your answer is actually discussing e-commerce, which means you will get only 1 mark or 0 mark for the effort so far. That's why I have to take my time to break it down for you properly as my professional colleagues. So look at the model for e-business. You can sort out what I'm talking about now. Go back to where I'm coming from, where we are using technology. There is brokerage, advertising. Like if you open your YouTube now, you will see some adverts coming to you. Advertising shoe. Those are e-business model. Subscription. How do you pay your utility bill? Those days we need to go and queue up at Sabongida, at Wutako to pay it, but now it's through internet. That is e-business. Then for e-business, we have 5 layers of infrastructure. Although if you are in IT, it's 7 layers. It's 7 layers. But ACCA wants you to know 5 layers. The first one is one that you can see, that you can feel, which is the application layer. That can be something that is stored on your phone, something that is stored on your laptop. For e-business to take place, there must be an application. And that application will be built in form of an app, mobile app. It can be a mobile app or a system app, but there must be an application. On that application, there is what we call system software. That software will be specific, speaking to that application. That software must specifically to the application. For example, can you use GTB mobile app, your GTB mobile app, and you have Wema Bank mobile app? Can you use your mobile Wema banking details to log in on your GTB app? Can you do that?
No.
No. That's what the system software is talking about. So that system software must speak to the application. Then we have network layer. Definitely without network, the software and application cannot communicate. So the network layer enables communication between the software and the application. Then we have what we call physical layer and storage layer. You know, at times you are browsing on your phone, it's low because your capacity is low. Or if your capacity is not low, it's high. You are trying to buy something from a particular site and it's low. This one is talking about the storage and physical layer. If their server is huge enough, communication will be able to go back and forth smoothly. But if their server size is low, it will delay a whole lot of things in the movement, in the communication between the physical storage layer and the application layer. Then the last one is content or data layer. Content is talking about what made up this particular app. They're talking about subscription, brokerage, what kind of data made up. We have 7 layers of data. Talk about warehousing, metadata, and the rest. Don't let me bore you with that. But what we want to understand is, what am I storing on the storage? What am I keeping on the storage layer? Is the content and data that I'm storing on the layer. For example, you want to pay for utility bill. You log into your Wemba Bank mobile app or this mobile app. How do you know that you want to buy utility? Maybe it's when you see a menu. From that menu, you will not be able to see several utility receiving companies. You will see discos. You will see tax. You will now scroll up to the one you want to pay. Is it Ikeja? Is it Ibadan? Is it Yobe or Abuja electricity distribution company? That is what content and data layer does. It stores relevant data that pertain to your needs, your relevance that you want to transact to ensure accurate satisfaction of your needs. So in the exam, when you see question around e-business, in your mind, be seeing these 5 layers. And this 5 layer, normally students call it COSA, which is content, storage, cost, transport, system, and application. Some we call it application, software, network, storage, or content, but maintain the cost, sir, because that's very easy to remember. So when you see a question around e-business model, just channel your mind around that. We have learned this e-marketing. So I'm talking about eyes, but 6 eyes. But we have 7 eyes, we have 9 eyes. But ACCA wants you to know just eyes, 6 eyes. That is the interactivity. If there is no vendor, there will be no buyer. That is the interactivity. That is the interactivity. But when there is a vendor, there will be a buyer. And when there is how many of you know that most of the, when you go to like Jumia now, or when you go to Konga, we have some vendors that are online. Place we are buying an item, you're actually buying from a particular vendor. Are you aware? Please, if you are not, please let's discuss now so that I can share some eye opener with you.
So what do you mean by online? They don't have a physical store?
Okay. Now, if you log into Konga, should you do practical?
Yes.
Let's do practical.
Any Konga or Jumia? I don't have Konga.
Yeah. Oh, you open now. If you are learning e-marketing, what which one is this one? Got it. So let's go to Konga. Me, I teach practicality. Where should we go? Electronics. Don't let me go to phone. Before somebody will say, oh, okay, teacher, buy me phone.
Fashion.
Fashion. Okay, you want to learn about fashion? Okay. So can you see all these things that you are seeing? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All these things are being advertised, not by Conga, by vendor.
Yes.
There are specific vendors that are hosting their products here, and they're paying subscription to Conga over time. That's what they're paying to Conga over time are in form of rentage. Is managing what Conga is used to settle for their cloud business. Although Conga too has their own, but most of these things that you are seeing here, let's go to phone. Me, I'm Team Android. Can you see now? If I try to buy this now, this will not consume my money. So can you see? Can you see a number here?
Yes.
That is the vendor that is carrying out this. Now link it to 6 eyes that we are discussing. If there is no interactivity, is there anything in e-marketing?
No.
So when you see a question, and they are trying to like drill you, look at this practicality that I've introduced here now. Look at the practicality that I've introduced here now, and be able to like juxtapose, or you're trying to go to any other place. It's clear to us now. Is it clear to
Yes, sir. Very clear, sir.
Okay. So let me go back to where I'm coming from. So when you look at these 6 eyes now, when you talk about interactivity, and sorry, this same thing I explained now also happen in physical store. If you go to Jendor or any supermarket, most of, or even Spa, most of that thing you are seeing that they are displaying is not owned, not all of them are owned by them. There are some vendor that is putting what they want to sell on the stand, and they pay some rentage to Spa. You get it? So look at interactivity. What interactivity is talking about is if there is no buyer, there will be no seller. So interactivity is talking about full marketing, in which there must be a recipient. If there is no party, there is no buyer, nobody will say they want to sell. Then the next one is intelligence. If you look at intelligence is talking about how you gather information. And YouTube does that a lot. If you go and search for a particular, maybe musician, like me, I like Olabide very well. And I also like Burna Boy. Once you click on Burna Boy music, all Burna Boy former music, they will be showing you. That's intelligence. Intelligence is talking about gathering much more information about the customer, what interests them, and how do they gather it? They gather it through click. The next one is individualism. This one is referring to your ability to direct marketing as a particular individual. That is customizing the marketing to a particular individual. How do they customize? You know, when you are trying to go to a site, they will say you should click, you should accept or reject. Once you are accepting, they are carrying out what we call individualism. But if you modify before you accept, then they will know the kind of content to direct towards you. Like now, if me and Adisa now go to YouTube, our choice of music will be different. Because what I watch as music, Adisa can never watch it as music. Ogechi may watch it, but I know Adisa can never watch it. Do you get it? That's what we call individualism. Then integration. What is integration talking about? You know, when you click at times, there are some other aspects that they will come towards you. If you are the one that normally search for cheap item, low pricing item, by the time they want to customize for you, you will be customized, you'll be low price item. But if what you are taking is just normal stuff, what they'll be integrating for you will be normal. For example, in Lagos, most of us normally watch Honest Podcast on Mondays. So you see that most of us normally get alert on that Honest Bunch when they release something. Because they are now integrating wheat that we are feeding on them with the supplier. That's the way integration works in marketing. Then there's something we call industry restructuring. But before I go on, let's go to the location. Let me go to the location. I'm sure we all know what location means. I'm sure we know what location means. Location is how e-marketing break boundaries. How e-marketing bring product from other sites. For example, music. With the advent of internet, you can see our musicians, their music are trending in where they've not been to. During the last year, Umura, when we went for Umura last year, around December last year, there is one song that was raining. In the Nigeria that was raining. I can bet you, when we were doing our a ringtone for someone that is from Jordan was the ringtone of that Nigeria. I was like, wow. But when you are doing tawaf, you are praying to God. You are asking God for something. I just form as if I hear. But I was like, look at how this guy's song is popular. That they are using it to do ringtone. That is what independence of location brings about marketing. It covers a broad geographical boundaries and it enables timely delivery, spot-on delivery. And that will take me to the industry structure. Industry structure, banking now. Banking is now mostly driven by e-marketing. Banking is driven by e-marketing. Fashion, computer sales, gadgets is also driven by e-marketing. So in industry, e-marketing is driving them actively. Even food, to buy food now, e-marketing is driving it. True of us. Glovo is not driving down to buy food. So please, in any scenario that is being built, be it e-marketing, e-product, e-commerce, understand the nitty-gritty before you drive in. And when you understand the nitty-gritty, you're going to pinpoint the particular requirements of the examiner. Any question? Any question? Hello?
No, sir.
No questions.
Okay.
Sir.
Okay. So our break, we will do our break with the case study that I shared. I think I shared a case study with us. You get it? Do you get the question on case study? Please, let's look at the question that we shared. The first question I shared is a case study. So please take a 30 minutes break. After then, we open the case study. Let me open so that we cannot see. It's a very interesting question. And there are other exhibits there also. Please confirm that you can see it. Have you seen this case study? Please let's confirm. Please let's confirm. Can we see it?
Yes, we can see it.
I mean, do you see it in your WhatsApp group? Here is it.
Yes. Yes, we've seen it on the WhatsApp.
On the WhatsApp, then there are other exhibits. There are other exhibits around it. There are other exhibits around it. Today, I want you guys to understand how to. There are like 4 exhibits for the question. There are 4 exhibits before the question. So we have the case study. You have the case study, and you have 4 exhibits after the case study. So you look at the case study first. Understand it deeply. Then, after understanding the case study, you look at the 4 exhibits. Now understand the 4 exhibits. You can now go to the question. This is the question. This is the question. This is the question. So, number 1, requirement 2, requirement 3. For us to how to get value from it. Once you understand the case study and the requirements, to answer this question will not be tough for us. So that's why you can see, I love this question. I love this question. It's about what we've just learned. Can you see number 3A? It's about what we've just learned. And look at 2B, 2A, 2B, about what we've learned today. So I customize this question purposely for this class. So in your SBL exam, this is where you will start with case study. After understanding the case study, you will now open this question next. So it's from this question that you will now drive yourself to the 4 exhibits. Yanoluwa, can you repeat what I just said?
Sir, repeat what, sir?
What I just said.
I was distracted, sir.
If you're in the exam hall, the first thing, you must have gotten the case study 2 weeks before the exam. But when you enter the exam hall, after you read the case study, the next thing you will read is this, the exam question. So from the exam question, you will now go over to the other 4. You can see that from the exam question, they pointed you to what? Look at it. Exhibits 1, 2, 3, 4, and the precinct. Since before the exam, you have read the precinct. So the next for you to read will now be the exhibit. So after reading the exhibit, if you are not clear, mind you, you have read this question, you have known the requirements where they are driving you towards. So for each question, you should be able to pinpoint which of the exhibits are you using to answer the question. Which part of the case study will support your exhibit to answer the question? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's take a 30-minute break. When we are back, straight off to your case study. After your case study, get the requirements. From the requirements of the exhibit, then go to the exhibit, and please document your answers. Document your answers. In all this, I'll be giving you 2 hours. 11:30, 12:30, 1:30. By 1:30, you should be back with our relevant answer. By then, you'll now be speaking to your answer, the answer that you have documented to me. Is that taken?
Yes, sir.
Does this make sense to us? Please, let's talk. Ogechi, Adiza, does this make sense to us?
So sorry, I just got the news of the demise of our colleague now.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Sorry, oh.
Yes, no problem.
Sorry.
Now
Adiza,
let's do
does
some
it make
meeting.
sense to you?
Not really, oh, sir. Not really.
But do you see the case study?
Yes, I saw it. You shared it. But
So
it's the
this is the case study.
timing.
This, no, 2 hours. 2 hours. Your exam is 3 hours.
Yes, yes, I know it's the timing
So,
for me. Oh, I have shots to go and collect.
and we are in the class. You have got to calculate a shop.
Shot, no injection. I'm treating malaria.
Sorry. Are you in Abuja?
Yes, I'm in Abuja.
Those areas are open to those kind of this thing. You guys should clean it.
Yes.
We are coming for ICAN conference. So you don't come and miss malaria. You guys should clear yourself.
Who is in Abuja? I'm in Abuja too.
We're going to Abuja.
We have been having malaria on this our weather here.
Before we come October, malaria should be. Don't come and meet malaria.
Oh, so the conference is
So
October.
you start with it's October. ICAN conference is October. ICAN conference.
It's October.
Oh, we have not registered. I'm not going.
And you are in Abuja?
Adisa, are you in Abuja?
Yes, I'm in Abuja.
Oh, I thought you were outside the country.
No.
No, she wanted to say she thought you are in Kano or Kaduna because she heard Adisa. That's what she wanted to say. So you shock her that you are in Abuja. So you are starting with this, the SBL, the case study, the pre-scene information.
Okay.
So after you have read the pre-scene, the next thing you will now read now is the question. So the question will now drive you to the exhibit for you to go through. But before going to the exhibit, so that you not go there in vain, understand the requirements. Then you need people to attempt the question. So let me see what we will do. Let's see what we're able to do in that 2 hours, please. Please document something, please. Even though they are giving you intention, document something. Document something. And I'll be happy if we all got good mark in this. So we see by Don't log off, oh, please. So attempt the question, please.
Okay, sir.
Can we discuss now? Is anyone there for me?
Hello, sir.
Hello. Okay, so can we
No.
discuss now?
Okay.
Who was able to finish a particular question?
Mm. Number one, I was able to go through number one.
Who finished a particular question? Or who
I'm
felt I
just
need more
starting with
time?
your.
I have an idea about number one.
No. Did you document it?
Yes.
Number 1A and 1B.
Yes.
Okay. What of number 2?
Yes, a little. I just did little of each.
No. I want to reach you all over 100. I want to reach you all over 100. That's why I
Okay.
give such time. Okay, what of you?
I'm just starting the introduction of number one.
That's not nice. Yadolu, what of you?
I touch based on just number one and number 2A.
No. So I can't reach you. So I decided the game so far. But I want to reach you all over 100. I want to reach you all over 100 on this question. So let me know what I've taught today, whether it's thinking. Because this question will not miss an example on technology and data analytics or exam. So what should we do?
Unless we write and submit later. Okay, wanted
Joro?
us to discuss it today.
Yes. That is a Joro.
No,
But
but
maybe
today
I've
is
solved it
already
now.
today
We
is
can
already
discuss
almost
what
gone.
we've written now, sir.
You said what?
We have
can
almost
discuss what
less
we've
than
written.
20 minutes.
See your mouth. You are looking at 20 minutes. 20 minutes. But first of all, do you think you understand the question?
Yes, I understand.
Thank you. The case study was very interesting.
Yeah, somehow.
I'm actually studying the way you are studying. So I want us to put pay to this. Somebody said we have 20 minutes to write down. Or actually, I miscalculated. Maybe I will have stopped, I will have paused teaching, maybe around 10. Then so that we
Or
can have time to
11.
solve
Or
this.
11.
Or 11, yes, I miscalculated. But next time I won't do that. So let's finish solving it. Can I have the answer by 4? Who can send me their answer by 4 p.m.?
Can you allow us submit tomorrow?
Tomorrow, no, now.
I will say what I've
Tomorrow.
done.
No, I want it complete so that when I'm rating
It's
you,
complete,
it's all over 100.
Complete, though. I can get something, at least 50 or 40 something. 50. Since 40 something.
Do you know who you are talking to? Do you know who you are talking to? I'm a very strict, when you say stingy marker, I'm a very stingy marker. When they give me, if they give me 50 scripts, if I have to score someone 52, nobody will check my script again. They won't check it. ACT will not check my script again.
I hope you don't use to mark ICAN papers.
So please let me have it by let's say by 7. That's fair enough. I want to have it today.
Okay.
I'll score you today. I will rate you, revert back to you today. Inshallah. Please.
Okay, that's fine.
Please.
Thank you.
So is it just question today or question 1, 2, 3?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Because I'm going to give you an assignment. And I'll give you room to study over the next weekend, before we go over the next weekend, for internal control and internal audit. So when I solve it, I will rate you. I will now give you assignments that you solve during the week. Then you now need to go and digest all the links that I've shared and the videos for this topic, so that when we come next class, I will reappraise you. Then we are there. I think that is fair enough.
Okay, thank you.
Adisa, it's fair
Yes, sir.
enough.
Yes, sir. Thank
So,
you.
Ogechi, Yanoluwa, Adisa, by 7 p.m., I'm expecting the full answer, please. Let's start rating you now. Let's start scoring you now.
Yeah, it's cool, but I don't know.
But what? Say it, Ogechi.
So I know I have
But last doctor.
I have something that, to do before
You have something to
If you
do.
can give us like tomorrow, let me know that
No,
throughout the
today.
night.
No,
Throughout the night, I'll
today,
work
not
on
tonight.
it.
Tonight, okay. When other rooms will be waiting for you there. No, it's today by 7 p.m. today. Please, please, please. Is there a deal? Is there a deal?
Yes, we'll try.
Okay. Okay. So I'll be thinking, well, okay, whatever you have done by 7, let me have it.
Okay.
It's all over 100.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you very much. And please, all the
Okay,
links that
thank
I've
you.
shared, go over it, read them. You need them. Read them, take note on them. You need them.
Try. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you very much. It's
Yeah,
been a lovely
thank
session
you.
so far. Thank you very much. Have a
All right,
nice
sir.
week. Have a nice submission of my assignment first before we now have a nice week ahead.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, bye. I have another